You know, lads, sometimes in life can be nothing more than a set of dice sitting in your hand. One throw, and everything changes. And you can train, you can plan, prepare, dominate. One tiny moment, one slip of focus, one banana peel on the track, one patch of oil, one split second decision can rewrite your entire future. And what we've seen this year in Formula 1 2025, before we get into the Abu Dhabi reaction, today today was the perfect example of how unforgiving, unpredictable, and downright insane life and Formula 1 and our lives in general can be. Because today, Lando Norris, the lad, I gotta admit, I doubted him all year. You all know this. They look like, the nearly man, He rolled the dice and he became world champion. This wasn't on the cards. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was not in the script, as if there was a script. This wasn't even the backup script. And life doesn't care about these moments. Life doesn't care about these scripts. Life cares about the moments. And today, that moment belonged to Lando Norris.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move, he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front, what a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh. All right, lads. Now, let's talk about the battlefield here, okay? Lando comes into the final carrying pressure like it's strapped to his chest. I mean, you could see it written all over him. He was also ready for battle. I gotta admit, I did not expect that. I thought he'd cave. I thought he'd buckle under the pressure. And I'm sorry for any Lando Norris fans out there. I just felt he would, but he didn't. The man showed up icy cold, an assassin. What he did today, he was under horrendous pressure. Lights out, Verstappen gets him. Now, in that situation, as Lando Norris is in off pole, the fact that Verstappen got away. Now, if you're a Lando in this situation, and believe me, I've been in this situation, the fact that Max can get a little naughty, as we all know, you'd rather him drive off into the sunset, because in a way you're not controlling the guy, but at least you don't have a lack of control if he's right behind you, because God knows what Verstappen could do, right? Or anybody else, but especially when it comes to Verstappen. So at the start, he certainly wasn't going to be buckling on like, oh my God, I lost the... Like, if he could have gotten away into the lead, yeah, and if he could sail off into the sunset, yeah, sure, great. But he knew he didn't have that pace. So that was the thing. He would have been worried about Verstappen behind him. Now, would he have intentionally messed up the start and let Verstappen go through? Hell no. Because he still have to get off the line quick. But he's saying to himself, right, if Max pips me now into the first corner, that's okay. Do you see where I'm going with this, lads? It's a lot easier because you're setting the pace behind Verstappen if you're behind him and if you are quicker. So you can control what's about to happen here. And that was a perfect scenario for Lando Norris today. And, the real conflict of the season, this wasn't just drivers battling cars. It wasn't just teams battling strategy. It was a season of men battling themselves. I mean, look, maybe you think that sounds very corny and cringy and Hollywoody, but it really truly was. What have we seen this year, lads? It's been unbelievable, right? It should have gone to Piastri. This was written all over for him. It should have gone to Verstappen then, once Piastri fell asleep at the wheel at Baku, especially. That was the turning point for him. That was the major, major turning point. That was where the championship was lost for Oscar Piastri at Baku. If he didn't throw away, he literally threw away points. Now, of course, Lando Norris helped him too, but he did throw away 25 points. Now, he looked like he was going to win at Baku, but he certainly could have scored points, a hell of a lot of points. And he did have the pace. There's no two ways about it. So even if he finished second, even if he finished third at Baku, he still would have had a hefty, handsome chunk of points extending that lead. So that is where he lost. And I think there's a real life lesson here, lads, for this with Oscar Piastri, before we continue, is that it's not always about fighting to get to a position. All right? You got to be stone cold focused. You got to claw your way to the top. But then what about when you get to the top? Like they say about Mount Everest, lads. I don't know if this is true or not, right? So forgive me. But I did hear somebody say this before. The hardest part of Everest is not going up. It's coming down. Now, everybody thinks getting up there is the hard part, right? But apparently it's going down. And that does make sense because, you can actually fall asleep at the wheel right now. I've never climbed Everest, so I'm no expert here, lads. But to me, it kind of does make sense because you're so focused on getting to the top of Everest. And if you do, you're high as a kite, like, I did it, Mom, Dad, look at me, oh my God, right? And then all of a sudden you got to come down. Now you're not focused on coming down. Okay, you obviously know you've got to be careful, but you know what I mean, guys? As in, you might not be as sharp now because you're running high in adrenaline, you're cocky, you're confident, whatever it is, and then you're thinking, I'll get down this, no problem. And this is exactly what happened at Oscar Piastri. He just relaxed. He relaxed too much. He didn't crack under the pressure. He just fell asleep at the wheel. Then we have Max Verstappen, the comeback king. I mean, wow, lads. He was over 100 points away. Everybody wrote him off. He even wrote himself off. I mean, did we see the press conferences? He was just like, that's done. Red Bull looked like a sinking submarine with the doors open here, and then through some chaos, brilliance, luck, a lot of luck, an absolute refusal to die, he crawls himself back into the fight and he ends the championship just 2 points behind. 2 points behind, lads. And he was over 100. That's a phenomenal comeback, you gotta admit. That was unbelievable. If he did go on and win a championship today, holy hell, lads. That would have been the greatest comeback in the history of Formula One and motorsport in general. I don't think I've ever heard a comeback to come from over 100 points back to take the crown. But look, that didn't happen. But it still was an insane comeback, lads. And hats off to Red Bull for doing that. Now, let's get into the chaos of the race itself. So, Lando loses out to Max at the start, not ideal. But okay, it still had an advantage, right? But ironically, Verstappen behind you, like we saying, is a nightmare. Now then we've got the Tsunoda incident. Now what do we make of this? Well, no question, Tsunoda should have been black flagged. Now I know I was saying in the build up to Abu Dhabi that you've got Hadjar, you've got Lawson in the other Red Bull team, then you've got Tsunoda. So you just knew that unless they were sniffing glue in the car park, you'd know that those guys would use the other drivers. Now, they didn't use Hadjar and Lawson, but they did use Tsunoda. Now, honestly, Tsunoda should have been black flagged for that. No question. That was ridiculous. Now, look, he's not racing next year anyway, so he probably went, if I get black flagged, to hell with it. So it's just one of those things, guys. And my phone's ringing. I'll get it. But anyway, as Russell Crowe says, lads, he said one time, when you're on the downside of advantage, anything is possible. And he said that when he won the Oscar for Gladiator. Lando was on the downside all year. Piastri had the upside here. Max had momentum, I suppose you could call it that. But the dice don't give a damn about your advantage. One lucky throw of the dice, one bad throw of the dice. They roll how they roll, lads. And today, they just rolled for Norris. Now, you got to hand it to Lando Norris too, lads. This was no easy task. When he had the Tsunoda incident, now I know what that's like as a racing driver and you've got the championship up for grabs. In fact, I remember even when I won the championship in Holland. It was the last couple of laps. I was in second and I was catching the leader. Now, all I needed to do was finish in second. And that's exactly what I did. I just stayed in second. I was catching the race leader, and I could have gone on be not even a hero, but I could have gone on, won the race, dominated, and won the championship. No. You play it smart. Now, for Norris today, same type of thing as in he went, oh, okay, actually, well, sorry, not same type of thing, but he knew that passing, there could be a possible downside here. Major downside. So like even for me at the championship, when I was catching the leader, I went, no way, because this guy could take me off, right? So I just stayed exactly where I was. Problem for Lando today, though, this was a harder one for him. Or I wouldn't say harder, but it was a very hard situation because he had to get through Tsunoda, man. He had to. And he knew that he's going to have to probably do a Hail Mary to get past this guy. And he didn't waste any time. In fairness to him, he didn't waste any time with them. He went straight through him. Now, some people were saying, oh, well, should he have got a 5-second penalty for what he did? Absolutely not. Because everybody knew what was coming. Tsunoda weaved 3 times. You can only do 1 weave. And he did 3. And he basically shoved Norris off into the extra bit of tarmac on the outside the white line, lads. He shoved him off. Okay? Imagine getting pushed onto the road and saying, oh yeah, see, look, like, no. If he did get penalised by that today, that would have been the biggest robbery of a championship of all time. Because the chances are he would have finished behind, no. He could have finished behind Leclerc. Now, I think he was just 5.8 seconds clear of Leclerc. So, but again, you see, when you're in that situation, and if Leclerc realised that he was in third, or just ahead of him, it could have given him a bit of momentum. Their strategy could have changed, so therefore things could have been completely different, right? So that's the problem. Or not the problem, I suppose, but, it can be a problem, I guess. So he was lucky, and he was fearful. He was brilliant, man. He had to be ruthless now when it came to this. And, as the laps counted down, lads, something, I could feel it. Now, look, maybe I'm sniffing glue in the car park, but I could just feel that there was a belief coming in Lando. He was catching Piastri, as we saw. He didn't need to catch him, but he was in the rhythm. He was in the zone. Now, he wasn't pushing crazily now, right? He wasn't taking unnecessary risks. Absolutely not. Could he have backed off? Absolutely. He could have. He just felt the confidence. Now, I myself, a lot of other racing drivers, would have backed off. Yeah. Would you blame him for doing it? No. There was just no need to either. There was just no need to. And he had a good cushion to Charles Leclerc here behind him. So, he drove like a man. Just that there was no tomorrow. There was no tomorrow. And this is the problem, lads. When we were talking about Piastri, I'm still trying to get my head around that Lando Norris won the championship. Really, because the whole year is sort of just flashing before my eyes here. How the hell did this happen? This was written in the stars for Oscar Piastri. Well, we thought it was anyway, a lot of us, didn't we? We all thought Verstappen was out, and bang, Lando Norris? Lando Norris? And he did a great job. He protected the tyres. He controlled his pace. He controlled his rhythm. And like I said, he didn't overdrive. He didn't panic. Now, you can bet all your money in the world that the guy was definitely having a couple of come on, can just laps roll away? Guaranteed, right? You just want this race to be over, And Lando Norris, the nice guy, the joker, the party boy, the soft lad, the nearly man, becomes the world champion. And doesn't that just hit differently, And, here's the punchline of the entire season, lads. This championship, well deserved for Lando Norris. All credit due to the guy. All credit. And well done, sir. Well done. At the same time, the way the year was going out, it shouldn't have gone to him. It shouldn't have gone to Max. Maybe you could argue me that one. It should have been Oscars. I know what's going on about... But, life doesn't give us trophies to the person that should win. Life gives trophies to the person who stays awake, stays hungry, stays alive in the fire. Is that the lesson that we've got here? You know, Oscar fell asleep. Max almost pulled off the greatest comeback of all time. Lando, the lad everyone doubted, kept rolling the dice until one landed right. And, you know, isn't that life? One lucky throw can save us. One lucky throw or one bad throw can ruin our lives or something, you know. But the biggest tragedy is when you stop throwing. You know, and this is what I love to see about today. You know, I didn't want Lando Norris to go on and win the championship today. I didn't. I wanted Verstappen to do it. Or at the least, Piastri. But, you know, you got to say it to him, man. He's a well-deserved champion. I mean, it was a beautiful moment at the end when, you know, he got out of the car and first person he hugs, I think, was his mother. I could be wrong about that. But, you know, he did go for it. And, you know, the nice thing about it too, lads, is nice guys can win. Nice guys can win. Nice women can win. You know, it's not always about being the ruthless a-hole. You know, you've got to be aggressive and ruthless in racing. But he did show up today. He wasn't Mr. Nice Guy. He was focused, ready, and he was going for it, baby. And guys, you know, like we're saying, Russell Crowe said that when you're on the downside of advantage, anything's possible. Isn't it nice when the nice guy wins? You know? Now, I don't think anybody would have been pissed off that Verstappen would have won it or Piastri would have won it. But, you know, Norris is, as we all know, he's labelled the nice guy. And maybe this is get this monkey off his back, you know? You know, you do see it. You know, and I've been saying all year, I know, that, you know, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't deserve it, you know, Lando Norris. I feel like an a-hole saying that now. Because, you know, he just doesn't have the assassin in him, and you need to have the assassin. You want to see the assassin win. But maybe, just maybe now, the way he showed up today, ruthless, efficient, and on the ball, man, maybe this is the monkey off his back. Maybe sometimes people need this. You know, he needs to get that first one and everything just clicks into place. Maybe we will see an assassin next year in Lando Norris. But anyway, guys, what a hell of a year. You know, what a hell of a year. And it was, you know, it was, like I said, brilliant by McLaren, brilliant by Lando Norris. McLaren not brilliant all year now, but they did really well today, in fairness. And it was great to see. So guys, listen, we're not done with Formula 1 yet, baby. Oh no. No. Lads, even though the year is over, we're going to be coming out from next Monday. We're going to start we've got 4 episodes coming out in the next 4 Mondays coming. The highlights of the 2025 season. Next week, we're going to start with round 1 to 7. We're going to go through it again, see where it was looking really promising, really bad for all the drivers, and just go through the whole thing. So I hope you enjoy that coming up, lads. And that's going to be good fun. And of course, listen, lads, you know, we'll come across with any F1 news as well, of course. That's all going to come. But lads, the 2026 season, if it's anything like this year, we've got those huge rule changes. If it's going to be anything like this year, oh dear Lord. And people think as well, lads, that the DRS now is gone next year. Well, actually, it's not gone. Technically, it's gone. But the drivers are going to have an option to press a button in the car, or so to speak, right? And manually activate almost like a turbo boost. So we're going to get into that as well quite soon. But all will be revealed later. Guys, thanks for watching or listening. Talk to you later.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh.